This was one particular topic that definitely made a big shift in the way that we prospected day in and day out, right? A lot of our training is consisting around how do we walk into the business for the first time ever. But really, how do you elevate your prospecting skill set is by making sure, number one, you're logging activity the right way, right? We talked about all the definitions, right? A scheduled follow up, a warm lead, a hot lead. What is an appointment, right? And knowing those definitions, you've got to know how to log them appropriately in Epic, right? Because here's the other thing we track, I mean, your CRM, every time you log a presentation and don't close it, there's also a presentation not closed layer. So you're able to go back into that layer and find where that next opportunity is going to be coming from. So again, with all that being said, high levels of activity is what leads to quality, excuse me. So just as a reminder, quality comes from quantity, right? Quality is going to come from quantity. Every time that you walk into a business, you find out it's a warm lead, put it in your CRM. If it's a hot lead, put it in there. If it's a scheduled follow-up, that's just as valuable. Knowing when the business owner is back in that business is a key opportunity for you to get in front of that business owner. Keeping that DMs met at 30% or greater is always a big opportunity for you to keep the other metrics to the right of that moving in the right direction. So for those of you that are getting in there and logging things appropriately, great job. If you still need some insight on how to do that, make sure you get with your team. You don't want to miss out on how to utilize that multi-million-dollar platform to keep elevating your skill set and your overall results. So in today's segment, we're going to be talking about the 5-step follow-up, baby. 5 steps to the follow-up. It's simple. It's easy. It's one of those things that allow you to be able to have that structure to duplicate how to get more out of your follow-ups. And I know Christina Singletary, I don't know if she's on the call, she is one that I heard this from, but it's talked about the fortunes in the follow-up, right? You're going to get the quality from the quantity, but you're going to get the fortune from the follow-up. All right. You're going to get the quality from the quantity, but you're going to get the fortune from the follow up. Knowing how to be able to go in and log your walk ins appropriately is going to be one thing, but knowing how to approach those leads in a way that create the next step of the process is essential. So let's dive right in. Before I do that, I want to make sure I really give you guys some clarity on why we're training on this and why it's essential to know this. Number one, it's because 75% of the businesses that we present to have yet to be closed. Think about that for a moment. We're presenting, right? But only 75% of those are going to close on that first presentation. So the no that you're getting doesn't mean no for never, but it means no as in not yet. So we've got to be able to make sure that we're tracking it, keeping on top of it so that when we come back in, we're able to then create that result. I just got off a phone call, as a matter of fact, 35 minutes ago with an agency director. And he had one of his people on his team that made a $7,000 check, right? This was a business that they've been working for a couple of months, and she's been pleasantly persistent, staying relevant, knowing when to come back in until one day she was in that area. She got the phone call from that business and said, "We're ready to run. Let's get it done." She goes in, utilizing the Worksite 180 because she followed up. She was able to write $17,000 on 7 families protected. Guys, that is a big opportunity, right? And again, it goes back to the following up, staying on top of those relationships and making it happen. So with all that being said, let's talk a little bit more about the metrics. 70% of the DMs that we see aren't being converted. Think about that, right? We're converting about 33. I mean, looking at the numbers, we're still in, that's an area of opportunity of ours, but I think we can really make a move in that area by ensuring that we're going back effectively with a good approach. All right. We can't just be going in and saying, "Hey, John, I wanted to see if you had any questions or if we're ready to move this thing forward." You have to go in with substance. 80% of our closed cases right now, according to the data, are from follow-ups. 80%. So understanding these metrics should already be shifting your mindset. Okay, I want to get better at following up. I want to get better at moving the process forward. So let's talk about how we do that. We talk about the other sets of statistics. According to the National Sales Executive Association, 48% of salespeople never follow up with a prospect. Whoa. That is just mind-boggling to me that 48% of the people in our industry, within this company, never follow up with a prospect. You want to get better than the other 52 or 48%, automatically go back into a business 2, 3, 4 times. 25% of salespeople make a second contact and stop, right? 12% of sales professionals only make 3 contacts and stop. Only 10% of sales professionals make more than 3 contacts. You want to be in that top 10%, go into a business 3 or more times. The same business. You want to be in that 10% or more or better, be in that 3 contacts. All right. 2% of sales are made in the first contact. 3 are made in the second. 5% are made on the third. 10% are made on the fifth or fourth. 80%, get this, 80% of sales are made on the fifth to 12th contact. All right. So for those of you that are currently trying to get more results, are you bouncing from city to city every single day, or are you really working an area and using your your CRM to know, man, I've really only been in that area 1 time or 2 times, and I've only been in that one business once. I haven't really gotten an opportunity or given myself, according to the numbers, enough opportunity to make more of it. So if you've worked an area a couple of times, you may be jumping to conclusions saying, man, this place is not a place where you're going to get results. I promise you, work an area to get to a point where you're beating out the other 90% by going in 3 or more times. All right. So, what to expect in this process when you're dealing with developing a new skill set, right? Well, you are, many of you, if not most, if not all of you, already know how to walk into a business for the first time. Hey, good morning, Jenny. What does John have you doing this morning? Would you let John know that Bruce is here to see him? Thank you, right? We know how to do that. When the DM comes out, we know how to do that, right? My name's Bruce. This is John. We saw that you may qualify for our Worksite Advantage program. I completely understand you feel, we know all of those things, but how do we go back in? But I want to give you guys a thing to understand. When you're following up, it's going to require critical thinking. You're going to need to be intentional about your approach. Because if you're trying to make a result from something that you're trying to improvise or maybe try to, get lucky with your approach, you're going to see some inconsistency there, and we don't want that. We want to make sure that you're being critical on how you're following up and be thinking about a few things. When you're following up is the next phase of the prospecting process. When you're going into a new area and you're walking into businesses, we saw the numbers, right? Only 10% of people in our industry are going in a third time, right? So going once, you're in that 52% of people that aren't going back. So you want to be continuously working towards leveling up. The other thing is there's going to be some failure along the way. Don't expect perfection. You're developing something new. It's okay, right? There was a book by Carol S. Dweck called The Growth Mindset. And he talked about how people with the fixed mindset believe that they're given what they're given and there's nothing they can do about it. I'm pretty much dealt the cards that I'm dealt with, and I've got to make fit for what it is. Right? In the growth mindset, the growth-minded individuals believe that with enough belief and enough effort, they can cultivate any skill set. I utilize, whenever I started playing golf, I give you guys this analogy because there was a lot of people that were better than me watching me drive and get off the tee, right? And I missed the ball. The ball would go way off into the right side. I played terrible, but because I didn't care about what other people thought about me, I wanted to get good at the sport. I wanted to be great at it. I still went in with 100%, and with time and more repetition and belief that with repetition I can get it done, I started improving my game. And so again, there's going to be there's no such thing as perfection when you're dealing with this. So I just want to make sure that the mindset's right before we get into it, guys. Okay. And then lastly, the biggest thing to expect by getting this 5-step follow-up down is more cash flow, more revenue, more income. And I know many of you, if not, I'm sure all of you want that. So lock in, let's get focused, and let's go ahead and dive in. The mindset you've got to understand when following up is that an objection that you're getting is not rejection. It's just a simple ask for more information. An objection is not rejection, but simply a request for more information. If they say, I'm not interested, they're pretty much, in my mind, they're asking me to provide them with information to get them interested, right? If they've already tried this before, they're asking you to give them information on what's going to be different with you working with them. So it's just a simple shift of a mindset that creates that level of conviction to go back into a business. They might have said, we're not interested. They might have said, we've already got benefits, all of these other things, but you've got to make sure that you're building that mindset on, look, that objection you got is not rejection. It's simply a request for more information. So let's get dialed in. Now, let's break it down in simple format. Step one, you always have to build rapport. That was one of the things that I got on the call with that, when I was on the call with that agency director. They were telling me, I asked them, I said, what was the contributing factor to this particular close? And it was rapport. It was the rapport that this particular individual had built over a period of time that allowed them to be able to then, of course, open up that foundation and have that rock to build on. So never forget how important rapport is. Number two, when you're approaching, after you've built rapport, you've got to reestablish the value. There has to be substance. You can't expect them to remember what it is that you talked about when you walked in there 2, 3 weeks ago, maybe even a month. So you just got to make sure that your practice is based off of reestablishing the value. Number three, isolate and handle the previous objection. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate a couple of ways to do that, but that's why it's important to log the objection that you collected or that you heard in that walk-in. Number four, you've got to tie it down. You've got to tie it down. We've been talking about this. You know how important it is to tie down in the presentation. It's just as important to tie down when you're trying to get the process moving forward. When I think about a tie down, I think about you've done your job in building the tent. All right. You've built the tent. It looks pretty, but if you don't tie that tent down, whenever the wind blows, right, it's not going to be stable. It's not going to do its job. So you've got to make sure that you could be great at building rapport. You can be great at reestablishing the value. You could even handle the objection perfectly. But if you don't tie it down, it's not going to do its job. So just remember, you have to tie down. And then number five, this is where the real objection starts to come up. And that's where we make sure that we handle it. And that's super important. So let's talk about rapport. Make sure that you're reviewing the journal notes. Give yourself ammunition. Go in with a great presentation of yourself, who you are. You remembered that they went on vacation. You remembered that their son had a baseball game. You remembered that they like the Georgia Bulldogs. All those things create a great way of approaching this. Something to remind you of is the FORM method: family, occupation, recreation, and me. Some ways to relate with the business owner. The other thing is you have to always remember when you're following up, okay, is you have to start the conversation assuming they remember you. One of the biggest mistakes people make is when they walk in, they say, John, I don't know if you remember me or not, but I came in a couple of weeks ago, or I came in come on now. You're shooting yourself in the foot when you do that. You have to walk. Hey, John, great to see you. What's new and good on your side of the fence? What have you been up to these days? What's new and exciting? Creating that solid, or even approach. Hey, man, I know the last time we had the opportunity to connect, you told me that your son had a baseball game. How'd they do? That's where it really starts to create that momentum going into the other steps. So that's why it's important to make sure you're starting the conversation assuming they remember you, all right? When it comes to step number two, you have to reestablish the value. In this part of the process, your transitions are going to be key. Your transitions, right? So, hey, John, it's great to see you, my man. What new and exciting things have you been working on lately? Awesome, man. I know you said your son had a baseball game the last time we spoke. How did they do? They win? Man, that's awesome. I love to see that. Well, listen, I wanted to come back in and reconnect with you because I know the last time we had the opportunity to speak. All right. That's my transition, right? The last time we had the opportunity to connect, we sat down and we did X, Y, and Z. I have to have that transition down to make the conversation and approach full of substance. It sounds conversational. That's the other thing too. If I was to put it in a better perspective for you, when I say transitions are key, the transitions are key in making this a conversation. The next thing I want to encourage you to do, and I highly recommend, is utilizing stronger verbiage. Verbiage is super important. Vocabulary. You got to think, when I think about vocabulary, I think about the nutritional facts of a particular, maybe a snack that you're eating, right? If you're using words that are very, I don't want to say, stronger words, I would say add more nutritional value, add more content to what it is that you're speaking. You to them, they see you in a better perspective because it's all psychology. It's not typically what you say, it's how you say it. So I can use basic words or I can use affluent words that help me connect. And I like to use the word connect or reconnect because, connection, when I think of that word, it really builds a psychological approach of like, okay, we're connected. We were connected at one point and we're coming back and reconnecting again. I like the term refresh, right? I wanted to come back and refresh with you once again because I know we had sat down and we talked about a few things that really piqued your interest. However, there were a couple of concerns that you had brought up. And so again, that's where we start diving into tier number three or step number three. One thing I want to remind you of is refrain from using the term or phrase follow up. Hey, John, I was just coming back in to follow up with you. Follow up. That's a basic way of building your approach. Utilizing terms like reconnect, okay, refresh, review, right? I wanted to come back and review with you something that you and I had sat down with that we were talking about how it would benefit your business. There were a couple of things that you thought would be beneficial. However, there were a couple of concerns, right? Whatever that may be, but you want to make sure, number one, you're making it a conversation. That's why the transitions are key. Number two, utilizing stronger vocabulary like reconnect. And then also make sure that you're refraining from utilizing the term follow up. From there, When I reestablish the value, I typically address whatever part of the process I was able to get to in the previous visit. So if it was a DM, if it was just a DM commercial, or the 30-second commercial, or it might have been a presentation that I gave, I always want to make sure that I address that particular part of the process. And when you're doing all of these key points, you got to make sure that you're getting the tone and the delivery to be musical. It's got to be amusing. It's got to be, it has to have sizzle, right? Right. So whenever I'm just walking you through step number one, hey, John, good to see you again, my man. What's new and exciting going on over there with you this past week? Awesome, man. Well, listen, I know that the last time we had the opportunity to connect, we sat down and we went over the presentation. We showed you how the Group Term 65 could give your guys permanent life insurance they could afford to keep after retirement. However, one of your biggest concerns was X, Y, and Z. All right. That's how you want to make sure that you're starting the conversation, not, hey, John, how are you? Hey, I was coming in to follow up with you about this. Or I was coming in to follow up to see if you had any questions or if you were maybe had a change of heart. That is not the best way to go in and try to get the process to move forward. So making sure that you've got that mindset first and foremost, right? Like we talked about. Are you going in and looking at objections as rejection, or are you looking at objections as a request for more information? From there, we build rapport. We transition into reestablishing the value to make it a conversation. And then we use strong vocabulary and we stay away from the term follow up because everybody uses it. Everybody. It doesn't matter whether you're selling credit card machines or you're selling whatever it is, most people are using that term. So elevate yourself by utilizing stronger vocabulary. And then from that next phase is address whatever it is that you talked about. Was it, hey, good morning, John. It's good to see you again, my man. What did you do over the weekend? I know you told me you were going to your son's baseball game. How did they do? Awesome, man. Well, listen, I know the last time we had the opportunity to connect, I did let you know that I specialized in helping employers like yourself provide valuable benefits to your employees while creating a tax savings for your company at zero cost whatsoever to your business. However, you did say that at that time you weren't interested. And look, after giving it some thought, I totally understand you feeling that way, having just met me then. But I really believe that if you had a few minutes to take a look at the ways I've been able to help other employers at no cost to them. As a matter of fact, I'm working with John over at 123 Towing. I've been partnered with him for several months now, and he loves it. It's at no cost. It only takes a few minutes to show you how we've been able to help him. Is now a good time? That is how you transition from a decision maker that you met that told you they weren't interested at first. And here's the other thing that I'm doing here. I'm establishing a respectable reputation with this business owner. Why? Because I'm coming back in regardless of them not being interested. I'm giving them more information. The fact that I'm working with a business down the road from them that we've been partnered for so long or for some time now, that is new information that they may not have known whenever I first walked in. So that is part of the follow-up. Then the other thing too about how to be able to have a process or a structure to this is use the scripts. A lot of what I demonstrated for you a second ago is all scripted, right? I use a majority of it. The biggest things that I add a touch of myself to is the transitions and the rapport. The transitions and the rapport. All right. Now, moving into the step number 3, just like I demonstrated to you earlier, I isolated and handled the previous objection, right? The last time we had the opportunity to connect, I let you know that I specialized in helping employers provide valuable benefits to their employees while creating a tax savings for them at zero cost whatsoever to their business. However, I knew you did mention that your concern was that you weren't interested. And I completely understand you feeling like that, having just met me then. But after giving it some thought, my man, I truly believe that if you took a look at the ways that I've been able to help other employers at no cost to them, you would really see the benefit. It only takes a few minutes to go over. Maybe step into your office. That is going to be huge. Think about that for a moment, right? Most of the time, the first objection that you get is typically a way to get you out the door. It's typically it, right? Because most people that are fairly new to this business, they still are working on developing that conviction on what this business or what we're doing. We're here to serve families and protect families in the event of an unexpected illness or even a death. And so with that in mind, what I do is I go in and I truly have that desire in my heart. So when I go back in, they start to feel that level of conviction in my mind, in my heart. Oh, this guy, I told him I'm not interested. I told him we've tried this before, but he's still coming in, but he's approaching me in a way that shows that he's really convicted about what he does. So let's talk about isolating and handling the objection. The key to this is that you need to notate solid notes that include specific objections that must be addressed in your next visit. You need to have those objections dialed in. Think about that. That is the best form of ammunition that you can have. You know what the problem is. They're not interested. Okay, I know how to provide enough information to generate interest. They've tried this before. Okay, perfect. I now know what the problem is. Let me provide a solution or information to create a solution for that particular conflict or that objection. Knowing the objection gives you the amount of ammunition. It makes the lead more valuable, in my opinion, and in other professionals' opinion as well. One of the things that I also wanted to remind you of in this particular part of the process is your transitions. Like I mentioned earlier, how do I make it a conversation? I'm not just going in and say, hey, good to see you, John. Awesome. I work with employers and helping them provide valuable benefits to their employees while creating a tax savings. You told me you weren't interested. I thought that I could really bring there. That doesn't make sense. It's not it just sounds like a teleprompter coming up, right? You want to make it a conversation. So the way that I provided you with a recommended transition is, but your main concern was, and you had mentioned, so John, I know the last time we had the opportunity to connect, I let you know that I specialized in helping employers like yourself provide unique, valuable benefits to their employees while creating a tax savings at no cost to your business. But when we had last spoke, your main concern was that your employees wouldn't be interested. And after giving it some thought, man, I completely understand you feeling that way. But let me ask you this. If you were to find that even one of your employees did have interest in protecting their families, would you be willing to take a look at how we can help them? Okay, perfect. Let's do this. Give me some time to go over it with you, and I'll show you the best way to determine if there's interest. Can we step into your office? But did you notice how that simple transition of you had mentioned, but your main concern was X, Y, and Z? It's smooth. It sounds like a conversation and it comes from my heart. So super, super important to notate there. And then the other thing too, when I'm handling objections, this is where my rebuttals, right? Knowing my rebuttals make the follow-up even better. Knowing your scripts. The scripts are essential because we know they work. I'm just now, I'm able to be innovative at a higher level. I don't have to recreate the wheel and make up rebuttals because they're already created. I just have to be better at innovating the way that I'm going to approach this business owner based on the previous interaction, right? The less amount of effort that we have to put in creating something like rebuttals, because I've got them memorized up here, I'm more focused on how is my delivery and the conversation going to be structured to create that next step of the process. Next, we get into the step number 4, which is tying down. Tie downs are how you ask for the next step. Okay, make sure you write this down. Tie downs are you asking for the next step. Like I mentioned earlier, if you don't have this, you're missing the boat. You're going to be stuck and you're going to hit a wall. You have to make sure you're always asking, may we step into your office? Is now a good time? It only takes a few minutes, my man, I promise you. If I bore you within the first 5 minutes, you can give me the boot. What size shoe do you wear? Ah, okay, awesome, man. Let's go. Right? I'm just making sure that I'm flowing with my tie downs, right? Use those scripted tie downs. They work. Maybe step into your office. Simple thing like that. Small. And again, here's where during the years of my experience here with the company, when I worked throughout the company, I noticed that some of these small things that I'm pointing out to you were the things that led to bigger results. By getting in, I'm like, hey man, you're doing everything great. You're just missing the tie down here. Or hey man, everything sounds great, but your transitions are the only thing. Minor adjustments that could create a better outcome. Next, you want to realize this. You do not GET unless you ASK. You do not GET unless you ASK. You got to ask, right? You got to ask. Step number 5 is my favorite this step. This one's where it starts to really open up. The real objection came out. Hey, look, you weren't interested. I completely understand you feeling that way, having just met me then. But after giving it some thought, John, I truly believe that if you had just a few minutes to look at the ways I've been able to help other employers at no cost to them, you would really see the benefit. Again, it only takes a few minutes to go over with you, man. Can we step into your office? Oh, you know what, man? I appreciate you coming back in, man. But look, man, we've tried this many, many times. And man, look, this is exactly why I'm here to talk to you, John, because we've had other clients who have had similar experiences before doing business with me personally. Service is a big part of any benefit program, and it's certainly something that I take a lot of pride in. Again, it only takes a few minutes to go over and show you how we're different. Maybe step into your office. The real objection is what we're searching for. As a professional, that's where we start to solve problems, right? What we do is we solve problems. They tried something. It didn't work. That's a problem. Let's solve it. Okay. Now, That's what the presentation is for. We show them specific. If I know that a business owner tried something, I'm going to emphasize parts of my presentation to ensure that they see what makes us different. And again, our needs-based approach is super essential in that part of the process. So a couple of scenarios when using the five-step follow-up are if the decision maker, you met the decision maker, they've heard the 30-second commercial, but they weren't converted. The other type is when the decision maker was presented to, but they didn't close. And then the other one is the account was closed, but the enrollment needs to be rescheduled or solidified. I know some of you, many, it happens. It happens to all of us. I mean, shoot, raise your hands. I mean, who's had an enrollment or a closed case that didn't enroll? We can still go back to those guys and close that puppy down and get that enrollment set. It just takes the five-step follow-up to get it done. So let's talk about this. All right. So as I demonstrated to you earlier, this particular business owner has heard my 30-second, but I didn't get a chance to convert him. So I'm going to walk in and I'm going to, like I said, follow these steps right here. Hey, Brian, good to see you again, my man. What's new and good on your side of the fence? What you been up to? Awesome, man. I love that. I know you said your daughter just graduated, going up to college now, right? What's she studying? Man, I'll tell you what, I got two kids of my own. I'm sure I only have an idea of what you feel. Well, anyway, I know the last time we had the opportunity to connect, I did let you know that I specialized in helping employers like yourself provide unique, valuable benefits to their employees while creating a tax savings for the company at absolutely no cost to your business. However, you did mention that you currently already have benefits in place and you weren't really looking to add anything else, man. And that's great to hear. After giving it some thought, I totally understand you saying that because most of our clients that we have now actually had benefits before partnering with us. And the good news is our goal is never to replace anything you currently have, but instead show you a way that we can enhance your current benefit package and increase your overall participation, which leads to more tax savings for you as a business. It only takes a few minutes to go over with you, my man. Is now a good time? Well, I don't have time right now. Can you send me an email? John, let's do this. I'm going to be working in the area this coming Thursday. What I can do is I can drop off some information, hit some of the highlighted points with you. And again, if you like it, great. If you don't, no big deal. Would 4 o'clock that Thursday afternoon work for you? Okay, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and put you in my calendar. Would you do me a favor and put me in yours as well? Oof. Whoa, come on. I get pumped. That's the stuff, right? You go in, you build rapport, you reestablish the value with conviction, you isolate what the objection was, and you go in with the scripts, but then you've got to tie it down. You got to tie it down. As you noticed, I did add a little more sizzle to the way that I deliver it, but that's typically what's going to happen. That's the natural evolution of mastering scripts. If you noticed, what I said was on the highway, I stayed on the highway, but I changed lanes a little bit to weave in and out of traffic to get to the destination, which was to get this conversion. And then, of course, the real objection in this case was we've already got benefits, man. Or, we've tried this before, right? I mean, we've tried this before. So you want to make sure that you're understanding these key points. The other one is the decision maker was presented to, but it was not closed, okay? This is where it gets next level, all right? So I'm walking back in and I'm talking to Brian. Brian, it's good to see you again, my man. Tell me a little bit more about what you did over the weekend. What was that like? Right? Tell me more, right? If you noticed, whenever I approach business owners like this, by having them, hey, man, good morning. Brian, good to see you again, my man. Tell me about your weekend. What'd you do? Tell me about your weekend. That's a way, it just gets you control of the conversation. That's another pro tip when building rapport with business owners. It just allows more confidence when building rapport. Hey, tell me about your weekend, my man. What'd you do? Awesome, Brian. Well, listen, man, I know the last time we had the opportunity to sit down and connect, I went over the presentation with you. We talked about the needs-based approach that makes us different from other companies. We also talked about our Group Term 65, which is the most permanent form of life insurance that is offered through the workplace that would give your guys permanent life insurance after retirement. And it was one of those things that you didn't understand whether or not it would be a good fit because you didn't want to take your employees out of production because it was going to probably hinder overall production, man. And after giving it some thought, I completely understand how you feel. As a matter of fact, anytime I have business owners like yourself say that, I always have them themselves ask themselves two questions. Number one, if one of their employees was to be struck with an accident, illness, or even a death, chances are they'd probably come to you for help, right? And you'd want to help them. Isn't that true? Secondly, a few minutes once a year with your employees wouldn't affect your business in a negative way. Wouldn't you also agree to that? Well, listen, like I mentioned to you at the presentation, my man, all we're asking is for those employees that want to protect their families, is that you allow them to do so through payroll deduction. That way you and the employer can save on those valuable tax dollars, man. We don't want Uncle Sam to keep taking our money, right? So again, I'm going to have some, I just got a couple of pre-approval steps that I need to go over with you, man. Can we step into your office? You know what? I just, I don't, I'm trying to think of an objection that could also come up here, but all in all, team, that's what we're really seeing here is my approach. Okay. What I want you to take away from this is my approach, but how do I tie it down after I've given a presentation? I'm tying it down using the closing statement. I'm not saying is now a good time. I'm saying this is my, and then from there, I let them know that I just need a couple of authorizations to get the pre-approval process started. May we step into your office, right? I've handled the objection. Now, when I tie it down, they're going to give me the real objection. They're going to give me the real objection, right? And so from there, we work on handling it then and there. But until we get the real objection, we're stuck. So the next one here is account was closed, but the enrollment needs to be rescheduled or solidified, right? Same thing, rapport, approach it with conviction and confidence. Hey, Brian, good to see you again, my man. Tell me about your weekend. What'd you do? Awesome, man. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. So you sound refreshed. You sound ready. I mean, you were in Vegas for a couple of days, man. You can't beat that, right? Well, hey, listen, man, I know that last time we had the opportunity to connect, we sat down, we talked about the presentation. You really, the group term 65 that we have really piqued your interest. You thought it would be a good fit. As a matter of fact, we had everything ready to roll. We had an enrollment date. However, we had some things come up, man, and I totally understand. I mean, I've got several clients who have dealt with that in the past. Again, all we need is a date and a time. As a matter of fact, I've got a couple already. I've got the 29th. Here's the key, guys. Before I go into this present or this account that I closed, you've got to have dates and times ready. You've got to have dates and times ready. That's one thing that I should have put on here was if I'm going into a presentation that I closed, but the enrollment seems to not have worked. I mean, typically, guys, and some people are like, yeah, why don't you just handle it over the phone? You're going to be chasing your tail a little bit on this. So what I want to recommend is when you're going back into an account that you close that is not, what I would do is I would go in with something to bring, right? Cookies, a cake, something, a gift card to Starbucks, but don't come in empty handed. You don't have to spend a fortune, but it does make a difference. So by going in with something in your hand, and having dates and times according to your 4-week forecast that work for this business to enroll, that's going to be the key, right? In this case, right, if you go in and they say, well, yeah, man, definitely, we had just a couple of guys call in sick. Why don't you come back next Thursday? Okay, perfect, man. Let's go ahead and put that. Now, from there, I wouldn't just say, okay, great, let's move forward. What I would do is okay, perfect, man. Let's go. It only takes a few minutes. I just want to make sure that the enrollment steps are smooth. Maybe step into your office real quick, or you're gonna have to feel the room out. Typically, you can either establish the enrollment, make sure it's now. John, before I leave, who's gonna help me facilitate the enrollment when I come in? I know you did mention Jenny. Is she still the person that is gonna help me facilitate this? Awesome. Okay, just want to make sure I verified that. The other thing too, John, is let's say, for instance, guys, you close this account. Maybe you're waiting on the QAC call. Maybe you're on the verification call, excuse me. Maybe you're waiting on the verification call. You can use the 5-step follow-up to get that verification done in person. I know some of you, if not most of you, are utilizing the phone approach. I love that. If you can get it done that way, do it. But if you're still having some pushback, go in person and utilize the 5-step follow-up to get that verification call done and do it in person. And it helps move the needle in that area, okay? So with all that being said, team, I want to give you some best practices before we finish out here. I know we're a little over time, but I did want to make sure you guys understood how important this is. Best practices is be collecting referral letters. As I mentioned to you in one of the first couple of slides, our goal is not to change the mind of the business owner. Don't get this mistaken. It's not that complex. Our goal is to provide the business owner with more information or new information to help them make a new decision. And referral letters have been instrumental in providing them with enough new information to have them make a buying decision based on social proof, is what we call it. Referral letters are social proof. For those of you that don't know, being able to drop off a referral letter or even those reviews that you get, some of the things that you can do is go on Google. And I know we're driving those 5-star reviews. If you're not doing that, make sure you're doing that. Get those reviews up. But you can even print off some of your reviews and the ones that have your name in it. Hey, John, here's just a few of our clients that have been working with us. Again, these are people that we've serviced for quite some time, man. Just help you see a little bit more about what we do and how we do it. But referral letters. The other thing too is make sure you're logging those leads accurately in Epic. Every one of you are working day in and day out to do the walk-ins and build a pipeline, but it's hard to manage a pipeline if you don't have the leads logged correctly in Epic. It's so important to be able to know that you can go in and click one layer and have everything that you need to stay on top of pop up in one layer, and it's 15 instead of 2,500. The next thing is make sure, here's one thing. If you're looking at changing the game, I would get into your CRM, go into your presentations, not close layer, pick out a couple of opportunities that you want to go into this week and get with your leadership team and role play the 5-step follow-up with the integrated scenarios that we just pointed out. What is going to be the rapport you build? What are you going to do? How are you going to reestablish the value? Right? What are you going to say to tie it down? What are you going to say to, again, have all of those key concepts? What was the objection that you heard and how are you going to handle it? And then role play it a couple of times. It transforms the results. And here's the deal, team. This is a performance-based opportunity. It's limitless. But you can tap into that opportunity by making sure this is something you don't lose sight of. I know we've done many trainings in the past. This is one you don't want to delay. I promise you. I promise you. And then last thing, build solid routes. Every one of your routes should have at least 50% follow-up. Okay. Those are going to comprise of schedule or those presentations not closed, hot leads, warm leads, maybe a scheduled follow, like all of these opportunities you can use the 5-step follow-up on. It's super powerful. It's going to help you out tremendously. And as I mentioned before, team, you got to crave it. There has to be a powerful desire for something. That's where action takes place. Everything I've given to you is knowledge. Now you going out and applying it will give you wisdom to navigate these seas and become the person that is going to help reach the goals that you want. So with all that being said, I know this has brought you a lot of value. I want to challenge you to get out there, role play this, because this coming Thursday, we want to hear some wins that you use the 5-step follow-up on that created some opportunity for yourself. And we'd love to recognize you and appreciate you for your hard work. Guys, let's rock and roll. Let's finish out this week. Let's keep closing the cases and let's keep making our way to 8 million and beyond. I'll talk to y'all soon.